Hey, what's up? This is DJ Thunderhead. Thank you for tuning in to Hard and Heavy Radio, and that was just Curse of the Werewolf by Witchcross. Up next, we have an awesome interview with Count William Jannusch and DJ Thundress. It's going to be an awesome interview. I hope everybody sticks around. It's definitely going to be very informative about both bands, Witchcross and Ravensthorn. So stay tuned after the short commercial break. We'll be right back. See you.
Listening to Hard and Heavy Radio.
Hey, what's up? This is Kitty from Here Kitty Kitty, and you are listening to hardandheavyradio.net, the baddest bitches in rock.
Hi, Rick Bowman here from the Dutch metal legend Martyr, and you are listening to HHR Radio. Stay tuned. Stay metal.
This is DJ Thundress. I'm here with Count William from Witchcross and Ravensthorn. That was just Curse of the Werewolf. I want to say, hey, what's up, Count William, and how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. And infernal hails and greetings to all of our listeners and all of our fans. Thank you.
Want to tell us a little bit about Witchcross and the history of it and anything you want to tell us? We're here.
Okay, well, for those of you who don't know, a lot of people know that there is a long history of music from Witchcross. Currently, we have an album that just was released in March of this year, Crypt of the Undead in 2015. It's our brand new album. And there is a long history that goes back to 1993. Shortly out of the beginning of my first band, Nocturnal Doom, Witchcross emerged with my guitar player Derek Anderson and me kind of at the forefront. And then Roger Massey, bass, and Gary Pedersoli joined, and we did our first album, the self-titled Witchcross album, in 1993. And we kept playing all over the place, doing a lot of shows. We've always had like a very dark theatrical image, and it was always very heavily influenced by Black Sabbath and Coven and King Diamond. And throughout the years, we did a lot of shows, and then there was all kinds of different things going on. But you know, as you'll find out later in the show, with once I started going into my other band, Ravensthorn, but I'll leave that for the second half of the show. But our second album came out in 2008, which is a long stretch after the first album, but you'll find out why later on. But the second album was Innocence and Evil. That was a really good album too, but like I said, I think our current album, Crypt of the Undead, that was just now released, is totally the best album we've ever done, and it really shows off the way the band is going now, so I'm very proud of that one.
That's awesome. Who writes your tracks and, you know, masters them and gets everything done with them?
Okay, musically, my guitar player Derek Anderson and me, we co-write everything, basically. Some of the songs I write musically and lyrically. I write all the lyrics in both of my bands that I do, but especially Witchcross. But he writes a lot of the music, and I also write music myself. So we kind of split the music down the line, but I do all the lyrics.
That's cool. We're going to play your first track, which is called Eyes of Lucifer. Now, when you guys get up on stage and play this track, do you have a certain dress that you wear, or theme-wise?
Well,
what do
I
you guys
kind of
do?
think that my whole image, like, it boils down to, like, as a young child being so influenced by Kiss and Black Sabbath and King Diamond. I started off really young with a similar image that I've been doing my whole life. That's why I didn't even think of the name The Count. That was never my idea, or it was never my concept. It was just the whole way I dressed, and with the black shrouds and the cloaks and doing the coffins and everything like that. I would still go by my normal name, which is William Jannusch, or I would just go by Bill to most of my friends. But my old manager that from years ago that was with us a long time, Jerry Parsley, he started calling me the Count. And then, that was years ago. I mean, I'm talking like maybe 15 years ago. He started calling me the Count. You know, at first it was just kind of like semi-laughingly, but, you know, it was like it fit so well because with me wearing the capes and all the stuff that I wear and the whole presentation. And then all my friends started, the whole thing just like caught on. And after a while, I thought it was really cool because, you know, kind of the way how King Diamond goes by the King. You know, his real name is Kim Bendix Peterson, but everyone knows him by King Diamond, and everyone knew me by Bill or William. But I just thought, you know, with the Count name, it kind of stuck. So after a while, instead of, you know, walking away from it, I just kind of embraced it, and then it just seemed like it just blossomed on from there.
That's cool. I figured I'd ask that because I did see, you know, on the websites and things, you know, you guys look definitely like you were, you know, in the moment in all of your pictures.
Yeah, I've been a huge, not only heavy metal, but I'm a massive horror fan, as you can all probably tell. That's part of the image, but it's not just an image. It's like a lifestyle to me, with my my beliefs in the occult and in my interests in horror. It's like an obsession with collecting the books and the movies and the toys. I have a massive toy collection. I've got, and everybody cracks up on me about that. They come down to my basement and they're like, God, you're like a little kid still. You still have all your vampire dolls and your Kiss action figures and everything just lined up on these shelves. And
hey, it shows
it's like
that
a lifestyle to me. It's the whole thing is like just a big horror thing, really.
All right, well, we're going to let everyone check out your track. It's called Eyes of Lucifer from Witchcross. Stay tuned in.
All right, thank you.
what's up? Thanks for tuning in. I'm here with Count William. That was just Eyes of Lucifer from the band Witchcross. Can you tell us about that track and where it came from and what the idea was?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me on, by the way. That song is what I kind of think of when I, think about the new Crypt of the Undead album. I kind of think of that as the single in a way, which I hate to use that term because we're a band that never writes consciously with thinking of anything as a single, but we write long songs, which that one is actually. I've never thought about it, but I timed it the other night, and it was like over close to 6 minutes, which is like way longer than what you would think of as a single. But anyway, that song it was written musically by my lead guitarist Derek Anderson, and I wrote the lyrics, of course. But it was like we were going for kind of like a really like 70s vibe, kind of consuming our influences of Sabbath and Coven and kind of putting it together into like something that's really heavy but also has a very strong groove and a good melody vocal line and also, embracing a very dark and scary topic, which is a ceremonial ritual of black masses and stuff like that, but putting it into a song that's also like a catchy, kind of a more melodic, like hard rock song, which a lot of people these days don't really do. It's like if a band is, embracing the occult, they're usually like really heavy speed metal or something like that. But we take like those type of topics and put it into like a Sabbathy or a Coven influenced, kind of like a harder rock that still has like some feeling to it. Which is kind of unique for your band, and it makes it more interesting for the fans to listen to it and like catches their ears, I actually, personally, I love speed metal and black metal and death and all that stuff too, but I also like, classic rock and all that stuff, but I kind of like to try and mix, a good, like a good stew of all different, like a witch's brew of all different like influences all together and put it into a way. But I've also had a thing that goes way back to the beginning of our band, which was that I've kind of like defiantly kept my vocals melodic throughout the years because of the influences that I'm trying to carry over into another generation, which there's so many bands that are doing the speed metal thing, which is awesome. I love that stuff too, but I also don't want the old sound of actual real singing to get forgotten. Right. And around in our area especially, there's like barely anybody doing that anymore. I'm like one of the only singers that still sings with melody anymore, and I stand out in the crowd, which, it's been kind of like that since the beginning, but now it's even worse. It's like nowadays it feels like around here when we play out, I'm like the only guy that has melody of singing, which I'm not trying to sound conceited, but I'm just saying a fact. Everybody's gone completely death growling, which is cool, but, for them.
That's the age of the new.
I don't want to change my style to try and appease a different crowd. I'd rather stick with what I love doing, and that's what I do.
Right, and I forgot to mention before that you are in Chicago, Illinois. Am I correct? Is that where you're based out of?
Correct, yes.
And
I've been here my whole life. I mean, various parts. I spent a lot of time in northern Indiana, too, but now I'm back in Chicago again for the last couple of years, and I love it here. I grew up here, and then for a while, like for about 10 years, I was in Hammond, in the northern side of Indiana, but I was still doing most of my, basing most of our stuff in our practice places and stuff out of Chicago. But then eventually, about 2.5 years ago, I came back over the border, back into Chicago, and I've always felt myself as a Chicagoan, though.
So being that you're there, what is the metal scene like for Witchcross in Illinois, and, where have you played? And
I think we've been very lucky in Chicago because, number one, there's always been a good metal scene throughout the years, even when people in other areas were having, like during the early 90s, and there's been booms and there's been slow periods where, with the grunge scene, which that wasn't that bad. I mean, some parts of it, there was heavy grunge influenced bands that were still very heavy, and then there was also the death thing that really exploded during that period too.
And it was very...
The death thing around here has been steady since the beginning of death metal. That's been like, there's been constantly a huge death metal scene since the late 80s throughout now, which doesn't seem like it's changed one bit. It just gets bigger all the time.
Right.
But, like for the audience of my type of music, it's always been hard, to bring out an audience, but nowadays it seems like the last 10 years it's gotten a lot better. There's more people into the doom scene. In the 90s it was like really weird, it was like everybody seemed like they were just straight up into speed metal and everything, and my band was really, it was like we were just swimming against the current, basically. Right. And nowadays it seems like there's a bigger audience for doom out here, which we didn't have before, which I'm very happy about. But it didn't change my decision of which way I wanted to go. I just kept going that way. But we have gotten a lot heavier over the years. We take a little influence from what we see in the heaviness of the speed metal and the thrash, and we try to incorporate that with the doom style that we're influenced by. And then I still put my same type of singing in there and just kind of try and meld it all together into one unique style of heavy metal.
And the good thing is your vocals are understandable. There's a lot of bands out there, you can't understand a word they're saying.
And the funny thing about that too is that from the beginning we've always, I'd say 90% of our albums we've had one or two that didn't have a lyric, but most of them have all had lyric sheets. When a lot of people said they didn't even need the lyric sheet, they pretty much understood what I was saying. But then there's other bands that you can't understand anything they're saying, and then they still don't have a lyric sheet. But I'd rather have the lyrics be in the album because it's like, I spent a lot of time writing the lyrics, and it's part of the whole package. Right. I've always tried to put a nice booklet in every CD that we do, which has been partially the record company that's been giving me that opportunity to do too as well.
That's cool. Now, are you guys currently in the studio? I wasn't thinking correctly.
Actually, we're just about to begin the next album, which usually, there's been a big delayed time in between albums with both of my bands, and I just, as time goes by, right now I'm trying to keep a shorter distance of time in between albums.
Right.
And that's one thing I'm definitely set on, is getting back into the studio probably by late summer, and hopefully by maybe March or April of next year having another new Witchcross album out, which we've got so much material, but we just want to make sure we have it right. We don't want to rush in there and do anything. But last time we were in there in August of 2014, we finished the whole album in about 2 days, and the guys, Chad Elliott and Joe Doer were the producers, and they were actually former bandmates of another group I did years ago, which I'm not going to bring up now, but it was called Shadow Lord. That's another whole history altogether. But there was a point in time back in the 90s where I was doing, several side projects, and it was just getting outrageous how many things I was doing at once, and I think that it may have damaged, some of the things I was trying to achieve, because when you spread yourself too thin, as they say, which is another cliche I hate to use, but it is true, though. If you're doing too many things at once, it kind of, you don't focus as much as what you should into the things that are really important. But actually, that was a very good band, but they kind of retired from playing, but they put that talent that they developed into building a kick-ass recording studio. And at the time, right after we fit, it was like right about summertime. We were about to record Crypt of the Undead from Witchcross, and we had 2 or 3 studios in mind. And I just decided to call those guys, Chad Elliott and Joe Doer, and see how the Dead Room studio in Chicago was doing. I hadn't talked to them in a few years, and I was like, I should give them a call, because I knew that they could dial in our sound completely.
Right, and they knew what you wanted.
To a killer level, because they know how to do that, because we used to record our own stuff, and they had been telling me for years they've been working on developing the ultimate studio for like the power metal sound and everything, and I was like, I just thought I'd give them a call, and see what happens, because I didn't want to, for a while we were going into some studios that didn't understand the sound we were trying to achieve, and I didn't want to go about doing that again for this album, because I wanted this to be the perfect album, and it's hard to do that. But anyway, we went in there, and those guys completely just nailed everything, for recording-wise. We did all of our recording in a couple days. We just played like 8 to 10 hour days for 2 days. And then they took quite a while to actually master it and mix it down and everything. It took them a couple months, which it was a little frustrating, but now
but you want the quality.
When they gave me, when they gave me the final product, it was just absolutely awesome. And then at the same time, I don't want to ramble on too long.
That's okay.
But at the same time, Sash Machine Menschel, Bernard Kriegmeyer, and Andy Priesig from Battle Cry and Metalizer Records, they all work together. Sash Machine Menschel, he's like a remastering studio guy out in Germany, and he had been contacting me, and he said that he could, really not only get the best sound ever, he could take a final mix that was already good and make it 10 times better. And I didn't believe him at first, but
you were like, it's on, let's check this out.
Oh yeah, when I heard what he did, it was amazing, and that was it. I just went with it, and it's like, now when I listen back to it, it sounds really good.
That's cool. Well, we're gonna let the folks hear your intro, which is your soundtrack, Crypt of the Undead, and it's going to go right into Restless Spirits.
Restless Spirits.
Stay tuned in.
Thank you.
waning hour as the fall rolls in with the tide. Russian spirits staring, unholy presence in the woodlands inside. Dying visions in the wreckage on the bone of the silent shore, where many unaware took the refuge from the storm, led blinded by the flames of a deceiving fire of the shore. Lepers in their colony cut to pieces in the sea's rocky mire. Restless spirits of the old lighthouse. Restless spirits of the old lighthouse. Old lighthouse would lead them to a safe and gentle port, where many come ashore, take the refuge from the storm. But the way the light reflected through the fog and off the waves sent many sailors adrift and into their watery graves. Restless spirits of the old lighthouse. Restless spirits of the old lighthouse. Legend has it that all who violate this curse will be found mutilated, the souls forever to wander these shores. Lady of the lake is returned to take a child in her arms. Now many turn away to escape from harm. Restless spirits of the old lighthouse. Restless spirits of the old lighthouse.
Up? Yes, we're still here. That was just Crypt of the Undead, the intro, and Restless Spirits. We're still here with Count William from Witchcross. What's up?
Welcome and infernal hails to everyone that's listening out there.
Thank you for that laugh. That was awesome.
My pleasure.
Do you guys have any upcoming shows that you want to talk about and let everybody know, they can be there?
I'm glad you asked because June 27th, we're playing at Livewire Lounge in Chicago with Psychomancer, Blood Throne, Yellow Tooth, Purge, and Godless America. And then in July 18th, both of these are Saturdays, by the way, in Griffith, Indiana, we're playing at Sopranos Lounge with Hellgrind. And those guys are in, totally wickedly infernal black metal type of death thrash.
Cool.
And then you go into your classic Doom style with us. So that's just a 2-band show, which I kind of prefer those because then both bands can do their long, full
hour sets,
all their theatrics. And the other show is still going to be really awesome, but it'll be maybe every band gets an hour, but it'll be awesome at the one at Livewire. So, and then also in August, we're going to be playing at the place that used to be formerly Bobby McGee's, which I think it's August 26th. I can't be sure the date right offhand. It's still not completely cemented, but it's the new Anthem Fest with Eden's Fall, and that's in Chicago Ridge. There's going to be a lot of bands on there, including the Divinity Compromised, and several other bands are going to be on that one. That's going to be really good.
That's great. Do you guys have any sponsors that you deal with, or?
Not really. We just get out there. We used to go through some different promoting agents and stuff like that. There's one that still does our shows occasionally. That's for the June 27th show. That's Divining Witch, Deborah Divining Witch. But most of our shows that we book, we just go ahead and do it ourselves. It seems like a lot better that way for making money, and also, just keeping things straight. Because when you go through too many people, it just seems like, things get canceled or problems happen, and I have no control over it, and it just gets me all stressed out. But when it's like me, when I am personally in control of something, actually, the Anthem Fest thing is done by Ray Smith from Eden's Fall. That's in August, which he's very in control and down to earth, and he's really cool. He never he just puts together the best shows, like really big shows that draw a huge crowd, and I'm very proud to work with him. But there's been other people that I've worked through, and it's just, it's kind of, you just don't know until the last minute. Somebody might want to change a venue, or at the last minute or something when you've been advertising for months. That really gets you stressed out. But when I keep things more under control myself on a personal level without any managers or anything being involved, it seems like we don't have nearly as many problems, which I like to do. That's cool. That was my next question, if you had management or if you were personally dealing with that yourself, or... Not right now, but... we had in my other band, Ravensthorn, and he's also helped Witchcross too. It was this guy, Jerry Parsley, and he was a very good manager throughout all the years I worked with him, and he was also a damn good photographer, and he's done nothing but good stuff for us. That's awesome. But there's been a few times where, there's been some misunderstandings, like when people leave a band or other things happen, it causes confusion, but all along, I've always had a deep respect for him, and right now we just decided, though, that, lately, which could change any time, but lately, right now, it's like we've been just basically, me and my guitarist, Derek Anderson from Witchcross, have been keeping the management of the band under control between just the band members. Roger and Gary also have a say in everything. We all just meet as a team, and, we call whoever's running the show and deal with it ourselves. That's cool. And that's how that goes, basically. Yep. It just seems to avoid a lot of confusion there. Oh, yeah, so then you don't get in the chaos mode. And also, when there's a lot of people getting involved, you don't know where the money's going or who's collected or what, which I hate to even bring that up, but, it costs gas money to get to these places. You have to haul all your equipment and your stage set up and everything, and you can't get there, for nothing. You got to figure out what you're doing and keep it under control. Exactly. You spoke of your upcoming shows. Where can you be reached, like on Facebook, your social networks, so people can purchase tickets or find out the information? And do you want to let everybody know? Number one, our old Witchcross site, which I'm damn proud that we've kept all along, because there was a point where it almost, went under because we just, got so involved with the Facebook thing. We still are and we're on all different sites, but our old .com site, I'm very glad we kept it under control because it's gone back for years, but right now it's been completely revamped due to my bass player Roger Massey and his wife. So witchcross.com, which I'm very happy that we kept the .com, because it's hard to get the official .com. It sure is. Without, there's a lot of people fighting for it. There is, which you haven't brought this up, but there was another band that people get us confused with that were from Denmark, and they're a 2-word name, Witchcross, and we're Witchcross, 1 word. Actually, I'll say that I almost clicked on it yesterday by accident, what happened was I realized they began in the early 80s, and they were more like a new wave of British heavy metal band. And back in the non-internet days, because this Witchcross that I'm in is 1 word, Witchcross. It goes way back, to the end of the 80s, the early 90s. And it was like we didn't know anything about when there was no internet. And, a lot of the magazines back then, nobody was talking about, in America, for instance, about that other Witchcross, which had kind of done one album, and then they kind of faded away, and then they came back, and now they're back. I think they're pretty much back again. They've done another album a couple of years ago, but, you know, I didn't want to change our name, and they seem like, you know, I don't know how they felt about it, but there's different copyright laws in each country, and so we didn't have to change it. Also, by the fact that our name, Witchcross, was always in one word, and there's two.
Yeah.
Actually, like the word witchcraft is one word. That's kind of basically what our band is about, is witchcraft. And their band was more, really didn't deal with the occult in their lyrics. They were more like just like kind of like the early version of Def Leppard, kind of that route of rock and roll, you know, like rock and roll, let's rock through the night and all that kind of stuff. So
and you were like, okay,
very different, you know.
Yeah.
So anyways, just wanted to clarify that so people don't get confused.
Yeah, you don't want that to happen, but once they listen to the music after tuning in tonight, they'll know the difference, I'm sure.
There's a huge difference. We're like completely engulfed in the dark side, and we're all about witchcraft and werewolves and vampires, and we take the old 70s, the early 70s, like horror movies, like they were made like by Hammer and stuff like that, and we incorporate our ideas that, you know, that are very similar to what they were doing. Is what they're taking is like some of these classic creatures and that have been watered down throughout the years, and like giving them like a dark feel, you know, and kind of bringing it back to the most evil form, but putting that to heavy metal, and also putting like the occult and different topics in the occult into heavy metal as well.
Yeah, I pretty much say Restless Spirit said most of what you just said, you know, by listening to even that track. That just is, I want to tell everybody to listen to the rest of that album. And you did mention your other band, Ravensthorn. If we could kind of get into Ravensthorn and pick your brain about that and let us know about.
By the way, just one more time, I'd like to tell anybody that's interested to get back on this subject that you had asked me. I kind of went off into a tangent.
That's okay.
But witchcross.com is our main site of .com. That's all one word, witchcross.com. And also you can contact me on Facebook personally at William Jannusch. That's Jannusch. That's on Facebook. Or you could look us up at Witchcross, all one word, U.S.Doom Metal. That's on Facebook. That's our page. And you can kind of recognize it. You'll see a picture of the band with me and with the count in there. And basically figure out that that's our site.
No, that's a cool
picture. And also, you can contact me at Count William Jannusch on Twitter. And I'm just throwing those all out there for you.
That's cool. Thanks for doing that.
And also, if one more thing. You can get the new CD, Crypt of the Undead, or the Ravensthorn House of the Damned on eBay, and Count Bloodwind is the seller. It's all one word, Count Bloodwind. That's Bloodwyn. Okay. If you want to make it easier on yourself, if you can't remember that, or if you want to write that down, you can also just go to witchcross.com. So that's all.
That's awesome. Thanks so much. So, Ravensthorn, give us, you know, the heads up on them, you know, about the members, where they started, and I'll let you roll.
Well, first of all, I'll give you the current news on Ravensthorn, which is last Christmas, around that point in time, the new House of the Damned remastered and repackaged edition hit the streets. That was on Metalizer and Battle Cry Records as well. And I want to thank Sash Machine Menschel, Bernard Kreigmeyer, and Andy Priesig as well for both, not only that, but the Witchcross Crypt of the Undead. What happened was, these three guys from this record label, they basically came to me through the internet and asked me about re-releasing House of the Damned. And House of the Damned was actually the debut Ravensthorn album that goes back to 2002. And Ravensthorn has had 3 albums, 3 major releases, which were House of the Damned in 2002, Hauntings and Possessions in 2004, and Horrors of the Black Mass in 2012. And the first 2 albums had the same lineup, which featured Greg Bertine on lead guitar, Mario Sanchez bass, and Tony Barr drums, and myself on vocals. And both of those albums were they were different, but they were very similar. what it all boiled down to is we started at the very beginning in around 2001 as it began as almost like a side project to Witchcross, which Witchcross was very still serious at that point too. Like I said, we started in '93, so we were doing all kinds of stuff at the same time. And we kind of started as a side project that me and Tony Barr, the old drummer, talked about. And Greg Bertine, the lead guitarist, came on board, and so did Mario Sanchez, which he was the second bassist. There was an original bassist, which was just in our demo days, but we all got together. We recorded House of the Damned, and it was taking what I was doing kind of from Witchcross's sound and like putting more thrash metal into it and kind of a little mix of power metal and taking it one step a little heavier, but at the same time keeping it melodic.
Right.
And right after that, the CD kind of exploded in Germany. They started contacting us, through the mail at that point. That was before we got really into the internet. And we had told them how we were already in the studio recording Hauntings and Possession for 2004. And they mentioned having us go to the Headbangers Open Air Fest in Germany and doing 2 dates. Originally they wanted 3 dates, and we agreed to it. And by 2005, we flew out there and we landed in London, and then we took another plane to Germany.
Wow.
And it just exploded out there. We did these 2 dates in a row. Actually, the first date was the minute we landed there. We didn't know that they were going to add that date on, but they added a date like as soon as they picked us up from the plane. We were drinking on the plane the whole way because we thought they told us we would have like 1 to 2 days to rest out there, and then off to the first venue like 2 days later. But they decided to change their mind. It was like something that it was a surprise. And as soon as we landed there, which was, I've never been on a 9-hour flight.
Yeah, so you were pretty jet lagged.
It was scary. No, I mean, I'm used to like a 1 or 2 hour flight across America somewhere, but at this point it was like, I had never, been across the world, like that in a 9-hour flight. So, and they had told us on the plane, they're like, they had this lady from London or something. She's like, "You can drink all the liquor you want, sir. It's already been included in your plane ticket." I'm like, "Oh, really?"
Yep.
I'll take 2 shots of vodka and 4 beers then. Next thing you know, I mean, we're like coming down over London. I'm ready to puke my guts out.
Yep.
Anyway, so as soon as we get into London, it's like we have like a little tiny wait. Then we had to get on another 2-hour flight to Germany. And then we land in Germany, and they got like a car waiting for us to go straight to the first show.
And you're like, no shit.
There's like 500 people in the Cantina Club.
Yep.
And we just ripped. We were like insane at that point. We just went on stage like we were madmen. I mean, we were completely nuts and rocked. And then the next morning, we went off to the next inn that we stayed in. There was 2 different inns we stayed in, and they were both really weird. Anyway, with the second inn, it was crazy, and we went off to that big festival show, which was like, I'd say maybe 1,500 to 2,000 people there.
That's a great experience, I can imagine.
It was just insane. I think that's how we established some of these contacts, into that have survived throughout my life with Germany, which my whole family is German too, which is really weird. We're like American German, but it's just even when I told my grandpa before he died, that I'd been to Germany and everyone loves us there, it was like one of the last things to see him smile, before he passed away.
That's great.
It was a good feeling. But to make a long story short, one more thing is after that was all said and done, a couple years went by, we were playing more, and the lineup had changed, and Jeff West had taken over on lead guitar, and Bill Hall was on rhythm guitar, and we switched all of our members except for our drummer. We had Scott Trubich on bass, and my drummer Tony Barr from the Germany trip was still with us.
Oh, wow.
But everything had changed. But Greg Bertine and Jeff Taylor, who was on bass in Germany, they still were good friends of mine, but things just got carried away because I had like some parts of the band that wanted to go one direction and some wanted to go another, and I was just trying to keep that whole thing alive. And like I said, I was doing Witchcross at the same time. So I kept that whole lineup going, and we ended up in the studio in 2012 doing Horrors of the Black Mass.
That's cool.
Which that album, I had written a lot of music on that, and so had Jeff West, who was in the band at the time, and it was just crazy, all this stuff going on, and it was like hard to keep control. And then by that point, we had our manager, Jerry Parsley, involved. He was doing a great job, and and my drummer was trying to co-manage, and everything's just like, it seemed like nothing was in my control with that band at that point. It was like everybody had their hands into the pot, basically. And, the music was great, and we were doing shows. We went to New York a couple of times. Shortly after the Twin Towers had fell, we came and we went out there and did 2 shows with Attacker.
Wow.
You might know you guys are from New York.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Huge out there.
Yeah. Where did you play in New York?
I don't even remember the name of the place. To tell you the truth, it was great, though.
That's cool.
But it went fantastic, and then they gave us a whole tour of New York, and everything went great. And, now Bobby, he's doing all kinds of different bands, and, the singer from Attacker, and I'm very proud to still be friends with him. He's got all kinds of projects going, but we stay in touch at all times.
That's awesome.
Well, like I said, them things kept going crazier and crazier with the Ravensthorn lineup, and it just got to a point where it just got completely out of control, and there were so many people going different routes that I just started focusing with Witchcross again and got into writing with the Crypt of the Undead album. But recently, like I said, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the original guitarist, Greg Vertine,
is that
House of the Damned, and the bassist that went with us to Germany, Jeff Taylor, have reunited with me. But we're using a different new drummer, though. So
that's okay. Hey, you got everybody almost back together, and
we're back to writing, and we're hoping to make another new album. But at the same time, by the fact that House of the Damned came back out again, last winter, it kind of got us all sparked up about trying to do something new. And I wanted to go back to the beginning instead of trying to bring a whole new cast of characters involved.
Right, and try to change everything.
Back to the original writers. Anyway, that's a segue into the music, because that's a long story. I don't want to keep going all day on that one.
We're going to come up with your next track, actually, from the remastered House of the Damned. It's called Lord of Chaos. Stay tuned in.
Oh, thank you. This is a song that was probably one of the very first Ravensthorn songs that was really led us into writing.
Awesome. Stay tuned in. We'll be back.
Child of darkness is born, and the gently was born.
what's up? Thanks for tuning in. That was Lords of Chaos by the great band Ravensthorn. We're still here with
Count William right here. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for being here again. I want to say thank you. That was just
and once again, I wanted to mention, we had talked about this right before the song. House of the Damned is once again available as a re-release, which a lot of people, like I said, think of this as a new album because it just came out last Christmas again. But originally it goes back to 2002, which that was our debut album. Like I said, we had 3 albums out. House of the Damned, Hauntings and Possessions, and Horrors of the Black Mass. But currently House of the Damned is back out as a new version, and it also has an extra song that was not on the original, which is called Dark Night of Invocation, and that was written by guitarist Bill Hall, who was in the Horrors of the Black Mass lineup. And when Metalizer and Battlecry Records wanted us to put the new album out, they asked us for an extra bonus track for the album. And we didn't have anything from the House of the Damned era, sessions that was left over. So I was like, I talked to Bill. He was helping me with the cover at the time, and he's really good with graphics and everything, by the way. Hunt down Bill Hall on Facebook. He's a damn good graphic artist. But anyway, he had this song left over from another session that we had done in Ravensthorn when he was in the band, and he asked me, if they have a bonus track position left available, would you like, could you guys get this on the album for me? And I was like, sure, because I listened to the song again, and I thought it was an absolutely amazing song. And I was just like, go ahead and put it on. But anyway, to make a long story short, original guitarist Greg Vertine is back in Ravensthorn, and so is bassist Jeff Taylor, and both of them were on the German tour, lineup that I had, and there's been a lot of speculation and controversy going on about that because of, I've been posting a lot of the photos and everything that we did from that tour.
I saw them. They're on your Facebook, right?
And Twitter and everything, and people have been talking, but it's just been great. They were here like a week ago. We were talking and, making plans and everything. We still don't have a new drummer yet, which we will be announcing soon, but anyway, without further ado, we'll carry on with more of your questions.
That's fine. We're talking about Germany, and you went to Germany, and I'm going to just discuss this right now. With both bands, Witchcross and Ravensthorn, either one of them, you pick, which is your most epic moment or show or some memory that you and the band hold that is very important and memorable?
Okay, well, it's different with both bands. Like I said, there's been too many moments to wrap into a short thing. But like I said, with Ravensthorn, I would have to definitely say that there was a couple moments, but one of them was definitely, I'd have to say, that 2005 moment, late out there on stage in Germany at the Headbangers Open Air Fest in front of several thousand people. That was definitely a highlight in my life, which I'll never forget. But there was other moments, too, in Ravensthorn when I had Jeff West and Bill Hall and Scott Trubich and some of the other guys in the band. During the Horrors of the Black Mass lineup, there were several really big shows we had done, like the New York shows and stuff. And I really cherished those moments, and I also cherished some of the other shows we've done. But in Witchcross, there was definitely one moment that I'll never forget, which the thing I don't like about it was that I don't think it was like one of our... It was a damn good show, but it wasn't like one of the shows that I think stands up to where we're at now, because I think right now we're like on fire. And we're playing at some of these smaller clubs, and we're just like... I think we're like keyed up like a metal machine.
That's cool.
And we're thinking about like videotaping like a new DVD or something soon, because we're just like on fire right now. But this show we did, it was about 2010 or so. We played at this biker rally with Witchcross, and there was like about 2,000 people there, and they were like bikers, like in all different groups, like in not only like the Hells Angels, but like, all different groups of bikers, from several different several different, whatever you call it, different gangs or whatever, but they all got along great, and they all had all their families there, and it was just huge. And they had all come together peacefully and everything in order to raise money for the veterans, and it was just like a massive event.
That's awesome.
Weird thing was there was no heavy metal bands on this whole concert except for us. I mean, they had like the weirdest group of different people playing. I mean, they even had like some of the guys that from some old 50s groups and stuff like that playing there, and then they had some country artists. But they put us on without even knowing who we are. They heard that we do some Sabbath, which we still put some Sabbath into our set. We know, by the way, since the early days, we know over 35 Sabbath tunes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought you did some covers for Sabbath, didn't you?
Yeah, and some of our longer shows, we could go through any Sabbath song from the whole Ozzy Osbourne lineup, of all the whole group of all the Black Sabbath albums from back when Ozzy was in the group, or some of the Dio, Andy, and Gillan era too.
That's awesome.
But anyway, so we did that show, being the only heavy metal group on the lineup, and they put us on last, almost like we were the headliner, which was very weird because they didn't even know who we were. But once we came on, the whole place went completely nuts because I guess, maybe some of the younger people or something were getting bored from some of the 50s music or the country or whatever. But when we came on right as it got dark outside and we put our crazy light show on in the fog and everything, we just came out there and ripped for like 2 hours, like the heaviest stuff we could play.
That's great.
It's like, it didn't matter if it was old people, little kids, everybody went completely nuts.
That's cool that, that people bring their kids and their families to things now, where back in the day, they weren't allowed.
I even had to make a few announcements, and it sounded kind of corny later because it's been videotaped, and some of it's like floating around out there on YouTube. Like there's some videos of us doing some Sabbath. All the only things that people videotaped was us doing the Sabbath songs.
Yep.
But and the sound quality was terrible in some of these videos. They were done from that biker fest. Like you'll know it's the biker fest because you'll see like this big stage and you can hear all kinds of people cheering like we're at this huge thing, and it's like I was wearing some god-awful clothing in that thing. I was like, it was like for some reason I decided I don't know what I was thinking, but I wore some weird outfit that I never usually wear. I usually have my cloak and my whole thing. It was something similar to that, but it was like some new thing I was trying to present. It was still dark and evil, but it was kind of corny looking. I don't know what the hell.
It was kind of back in the day. You were probably just thinking about the era.
Said, well, I'll just do this for the night, and I think I was drinking at the time or something. But anyways, it was a really good show, though, but it was just... the crowd was fantastic. If you just had to be there, but you could still see... Like a lot of it is out there on YouTube, but it's just like the only thing I don't like about it was the sound quality of the video that's out there.
We'll definitely be checking it out. That would be cool.
But by the way, if you want to see the best video that's out there right now is we've got some videos that are more like slideshows that are current ones, like the Eyes of Lucifer. Well, this goes back to Witchcross again.
Yep.
We were on that subject.
That's okay.
Got, the Eyes of Lucifer and the Curse of the Werewolf video, and we've also got some other stuff. But there's a whole bunch of Ravensthorn videos out there, too. There's some live stuff that's out there of us doing all kinds of Ravensthorn stuff, but it was varying lineups. You never know. If you look up Ravensthorn on YouTube, you'll get all different lineups of the band, but I'm in every lineup.
I know.
In both bands, I'm the only singer that they ever had. So.
But you also do change your vocals for each band, I've noticed.
Slightly, I wouldn't say
not a lot.
I mean, it doesn't sound radically different. But in Witchcross, I think I put a little more of my Ozzy influence. And in Ravensthorn, I put a little more, probably slightly a little more King Diamond influence. But both bands have a strong Ozzy influence in my vocal in both. But there's a couple Ravensthorn songs where I even went into like a death vocal for a short period and then went back to my Ozzy vocal, back to my King Diamond. I just like break it all up into different styles.
That's
try
good.
to keep it fresh.
It's good that you can do that. We're going to come up with your next track, which is your title track from the remastered House of the Damned. It's House of the Damned. Stay tuned in.
Oh, thank you. That's one of my favorite songs on there. It's a long intro, but it goes into some heavy-duty thrash.
tuning in. I'm DJ Thundress. I'm here with Count William. That was just House of the Damned by the band Ravensthorn. That was an awesome track. Can you tell us a little more about that track?
Thanks a lot. I'm very happy to be here. That's the title track off the very first debut Ravensthorn album, which is now being thought of as the new album because it was re-released last winter. But anyway, there is a very long and dark story, which I won't go into a huge story because I always do. But
that's okay.
Anyways, the meaning behind this song is very crazy. It goes back to something I was watching on one of those true crime movies, and it was a story about a house that was in California that was once owned by Sharon Tate and Jay Sebring. Before the Manson murders happened, they lived in this house, which he had gone off to do some kind of a movie thing. This took place in the 60s, and she was there alone at this house, which, it was owned by several different movie stars, going back into the 30s. And they had seen all kinds of different, everyone who had lived at this house had seen all kinds of different supposed supernatural manifestations. And when she was there alone after he went off to go do his movie, she had been frightened so badly by seeing some of these manifestations that she left and went to go stay with some of her family members. And she told all her family members, I guess, this is according to different books and different supernatural documentaries that I've watched. And anyway, I guess everyone thought she was crazy, or they thought, she was just, having a bad nightmare or something.
Right.
And so she decided to sell this place, which they had not been staying there that long. And when he got back from his movie, when Jay Sebring had got back from his movie filming or whatever, this is just according to the legend that I heard. I'm not saying that this is dead fact.
Right.
Because this song does kind of take facts and also fantasy and kind of mix it all together into my own conglomeration of the whole story. So I'm not trying to say that this is 100% factual.
Yeah, but the lyrics all fit right in.
Like historical fiction in a way, I'd say. So this is just what I've heard. But anyway, so the next thing I know, he had talked to her, about getting another house. And somehow they had ended up purchasing or renting, according to the legend, the former house of the Beach Boys member that the whole thing went on. Anyways, so once they stayed there and he went off to do another movie, she had also told all the people in her family that she had seen like premonitions that a short bearded man was going to murder her. And this is only just a mixture of different things that happened because of, all the other supernatural manifestations that she had seen. But she said that there was definitely some sort of major premonition that some sort of short bearded man and some shadowy figures were going to murder her and her whole family. And she told this to some of her family members, Sharon Tate, I guess. And once they left that place, which she thought this was going to happen at that house, and it didn't. It ended up when they purchased the Beach Boys house, which then it goes into almost like the Helter Skelter story. Right. Once they moved in there, everybody knows everything else from reading Helter Skelter and all that the Manson family came and murdered her while he was out doing another movie. And there was nothing he could do about it, which is terrible. I feel sorry for him, and the whole thing was a nightmare. But I tried to wrap all these legends and mythos and everything that dated back to before Helter Skelter and into the Helter Skelter story and kind of wrap it around into this story that not only embraced that but went deeper and further back into the past. Before, like, who built this house? Why did she see these premonitions? And like, was this place haunted or was it just destiny or whatever? And I put it all, I kind of mixed my own fantasies and like weird premonitions and everything all into this whole thing and just mixed it all up into like a historical fiction story and just called it House of the Damned.
That's cool. You
The
should
rest
write
of
a
the
book.
album didn't have nothing to do. That was not like a concept album like with Witchcross, our new album, Crypt of the Undead, is almost more like a concept album.
Right.
About vampires and werewolves and witches, and the whole thing is like one story. But like with House of the Damned, Ravensthorn, that was more like every song on there was its own story, completely different from one another. But the title track, House of the Damned, that's basically what that had to do with, which I thought that was pretty scary at the time. And I really, for some reason, this goes back to my childhood. I don't know what it is, and it's kind of creepy to myself, but I always, since my youngest age, you know, when I was a kid, I was always fascinated by the Helter Skelter story with the Manson thing. And I'm not saying I'm not a fan of Charles Manson. I think it's horrible with all the things that everyone did, and it's just terrifying to me. I'm not like one of those people that like follows murderers, and I'm like proud to follow. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that it was just a fascinating topic throughout my life.
So you asked us to play an extra track, which is awesome, and we're glad you did, because I think you would like to talk about it. It's called Dawn of Eternal Night.
Okay, this song is on the new Crypt of the Undead Witchcross album, and this tune goes way back to the earliest days of Witchcross. Before we were even known as Witchcross, it was like at the very dawn of the 90s, which me and the lead guitarist Derek Anderson had a band called Nocturnal Doom. Like they went back to our early teen years together. That's how long me and him have been working together, you know, as musically throughout all these years. All these other bands and side things, to me, have almost been like side projects as compared to Witchcross has been going through all these years, through all these decades. You know, everybody's been the same dudes. You know, it's been like... But anyway, this song was one of the first tunes me and him ever did together, and it was just so dark and so doomy that it's just, we had to redo it for the new album because we had such a good sound going in the recording studio, and I'm like, you know, let's just redo that song because it's like almost 10 minutes, it's like 9 minutes long or something. It's just downright. It's like about freaking hooded figures invoking creatures from the dark side, and it's just like manifestations of evil being risen from the hole that goes straight into hell. You know, it's just like, that's basically what that one's about, and it brings about the whole apocalypse of the world.
Awesome. Check it out. Here's Dawn of Eternal Night by Witchcross. Stay tuned in. up? We're still here with Count William. That was just Dawn of Eternal Night. Thanks for being here.
Welcome and greetings and infernal hails to everyone. Thanks for having me on the show. It's just been a very good night.
Thanks for being here. If you want to go over, again, for both bands, your websites, social media sites, things like that, we could,
Okay, well, like I said before, witchcross.com is the official Witchcross site, which you can also join us on Witchcross U.S.Doom Metal on Facebook, or you could join me on Count William Jannusch on Twitter, or you could just join me at Facebook, Count William Jannusch, or on Facebook, and like I said, Witchcross U.S.Doom Metal. Then there's also Ravensthorn Heavy Metal Band on Facebook, and just Ravensthorn on Facebook.
Awesome.
And they're all over the place, but there's a million different things. It's, there's like a million other social sites I can join, but man, I don't know how I have time to do it all and still have time to jam.
There you go. Now I forgot what I was going to say. Just remind us of your upcoming shows and where you can, they can purchase tickets and purchase your CDs.
Oh, no problem. Like I said right now, the nearest one is June 27th at Livewire Lounge in Chicago with Psychomancer, Blood Throne, Yellow Tooth Purge, and Godless America. That's a Saturday night, and that's about $10 to get in, I believe. That's June 27th, Livewire Lounge. The next one, which there's other shorter ones in between, but these are major ones I'm just announcing. The next one is Witchcross and Hellgrind, just two of us doing long sets of all of our heaviest songs. That's Saturday, July 18th at Sopranos Lounge in Griffith, Indiana. And then in August, we're playing at the Anthem Fest, and that's at the club that's formerly Bobby McGee's, and that's with Eden's Fall, Divinity Compromise, and a lot of other bands, and they're giving me the official date soon, so you can find that official date within a couple days on my Facebook Count William site or on witchcross.com. You can find that, because they haven't made everything 100% finalized
Official,
in August yet, but that's a huge show. Anthem Fest is done throughout the years from the band Eden's Fall here in Chicago. They're a really good thrash band, and they bring a lot of the traditional power metal bands onto their thing every year, but this year it's being held in August in Chicago Ridge, Illinois, and they're going to finalize that, and we'll have it on the witchcross.com site and on all the Facebook and Twitter sites and everything else. So
that's awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being here tonight, and
I want to thank you guys for not only having me on, but also playing some killer different tracks from our various albums and stuff like that. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, and we'll be talking to you soon.
All right, thanks a lot, you guys. This has been ultimate and fucking awesome. So I love you guys, and I'll be talking to everybody out there soon, and thanks for joining us.